Congresswoman Claudia Tenney, Republican from New York. She serves on the House Ways and Means Committee. Congresswoman, thank you very much for joining us. Appreciate it. I know it's a big day at the RNC, but I want to talk about this because I think this is a really important moment in American history. Do you disagree with what I've been saying about the accountability for those who have been pointing fingers and/or, on the left, of course, those making comments dismissive of what happened?
Look, this is a tough environment we're in. I think a lot of people are not informed. We have a lot of decentralized media. You can get your information from TikTok, from social media, from all kinds of areas, as opposed to when I grew up, you had three TV stations, and that was it. I think that people are getting a lot of misinformation, and they get hypercharged. I do think the Democrats' rhetoric, though, is dangerous at times. And we saw the shooting of Steve Scalise. The day that Steve Scalise was shot, there was a person who put out a tweet that said 1 down, 217 to go, and he was living in my district. Of course, he got a visit from the FBI. But I think there is a lot of very, very extreme rhetoric when you see that Donald Trump's bloody decapitated head, when you hear Madonna talking about I'd like to blow up the White House, and when you hear this kind of violence, people get worked up. And I know we have to have robust debate. We have to respectfully disagree, though, and I think that's what the problem is. And I think that needs to come from both sides. And I'm actually a member of a club. It's called the Reagan O'Neill Club. It's an equal number of Republicans and Democrats, and it's purely social. It's not politics. We get together. We get to know each other as human beings, and we get to bring the rhetoric down. And it was wonderful to have this bipartisan text stream after the incidents the other night, because we heard from both Democrats and Republicans their concern about what happened to President Trump, the violence, and also their grave concern over the tragic killing and murder of this 50-year-old father. Yep. 50-year-old fireman who also answered the call to serve, a fireman who jumped into harm's way to protect his daughter. So, yeah, I think that we can talk to each other. I come from a family with Democrats and Republicans. We need to do things like this, join groups, get involved, not be afraid to talk to each other, not be afraid to wear a MAGA hat if you want to.
Yep. I think that makes a ton of sense. And I'm going to ask you, though, about some of the comments that former President Trump has made. But even you yourself made a comment where right afterwards you said Biden is the same evil guy threatening President Trump and also denying Secret Service to Robert F. Kennedy Jr. Do you regret having said that?
Not at all. I think it's absolutely reprehensible that President Biden does not offer any kind of support for RFK Jr. with the history from his family and the difficulty that's on the campaign trail. These are dangerous times. I was in a real swing district when I first came into Congress. I had people out in front of my house, in front of my business, in front of my office, going to the doors of our employees, spending millions of dollars, saying all kinds of vitriolic things, death threats nonstop in my office, coming from the left. And so when I see someone like President Biden just standing out there, and I don't disagree with Lauren Boebert. I think you don't talk about putting your opponent in the bullseye when you're dealing with people who aren't into politics 24/7 like we in politics are. I think he needs to be more careful.
Fair enough. That Donald Trump but President Biden has come out and said that he wishes he'd used different language. By the way, I have defended those on the other side who've made passing comments about bullseyes, and I've said, come on, let's not blow this out of proportion, just so you know. But President Trump has said, for example, among many other things, we pledge to you that we'll root out the communists, Marxists, fascists, radical left thugs that live like vermin within the confines of our country, that lie and steal and cheat on elections. I mean, that's pretty incendiary language as well, that is dangerous, right? And again, when I say dangerous, I don't mean that, oh my goodness, the next thing that happens is Donald Trump's fault, because that's not what I'm going to say. But when you're saying that, oh, the left is using this language, Donald Trump and the right is using it too.
Well, whoever the perpetrator is always responsible for that. But I do think we can be more careful with language, and I do think that the Democrats are often talk about death and talk about killing, and we just had Jack Black at a concert say, too bad they missed Donald Trump.
Jack Black and
Benny
Madonna.
Thompson staffer, and he rightfully, Benny Thompson staffer, get some shooting lessons so you don't miss next time, and he rightfully put that person, I think, on leave, or else they were fired. So we do have to, people get emotional. This is we are in a place where we have to be able to debate, respectfully disagree. And I got to be honest with you, I think it was a lot more aggressive even when our founders were around. When you go back and look at the record of what our founders said to each other, I think it was pretty bad. But I think we need to be more resilient. I think we need to be able to stand up. But I also think we need to be respectful. And, when we do confront our adversaries, especially in a political sense, I think we do need to shake hands afterwards. We need to try to be friendly. I've had $50 million spent against me, roughly, in campaigns, and it was pretty darn nasty, and I would call a lot of it a smear. If I weren't a public figure, I could probably have some action against them. But we've got to try to come up with a way to really get beyond that and try to talk about ideas, talk about the issues.
You mentioned back in the day, they used to have duels back then. We certainly don't want to be getting back to that.
People died.
Congresswoman Claudia Tenney, thanks so much for taking the time. Really appreciate it.
Thanks. Great talking to you, too.
Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find News Nation on your cable provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of News Nation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.